The crickets outside Emily Parker's quiet suburban home sang their soft rhythmic song, a steady hum that floated on the warm summer breeze drifting through half-opened windows. The air carried the faint scent of jasmine from the garden, mingling with the sweetness of freshly cut grass. It was just past midnight, that still hour when even the shadows seemed to hold their breath. The house itself slept deeply, the kitchen silent, the hallway cloaked in darkness, and the world outside tucked away beneath a blanket of calm. Inside, Emily lay half asleep, cocooned beneath a patchwork quilt her late husband's mother had gifted them on their wedding day. That quilt had seen years of laughter, arguments, late-night talks, and quiet tears. It was more than fabric. It was memory stitched into warmth. Emily, 42, with chestnut brown hair that brushed just below her shoulders, had the kind of face that invited trust. Soft eyes, gentle lines, and a presence that felt like a pause in the noise of life. She had always been a light sleeper. Even the faintest creak in the floorboards or a whisper of wind through the eaves would stir her, and that night was no different. Something subtle, almost imperceptible, tugged her from sleep, like a soft pull at the edge of her dreams. She opened her eyes slowly, disoriented, unsure what had woken her. The clock on her nightstand glowed faintly, 12:07 a.m., then she heard it. Emily, a whisper. Fragile, uncertain, so soft it almost blended with the hum of the night. Her heart stuttered in her chest. For a moment she thought she had imagined it, the lingering voice of a dream. But then it came again, a little clearer this time. Emily. She sat up quickly, her pulse thrumming. Her hand reached instinctively for the lamp. The soft golden light spilled across the room, chasing the shadows into corners. She pulled her robe close, took a steadying breath, and swung her legs over the side of the bed. The carpet was cool beneath her bare feet. She moved to the door, each step slow and cautious. When she opened it, the light from her lamp stretched into the hallway like a comforting arm. And there he was. Ethan. Her 17-year-old stepson stood barefoot in the doorway, his sandy hair disheveled, his expression unsettled. His hand clung to the doorframe, fingers tense. In that moment, he didn't look like the tall young man he was growing into. He looked small again, fragile, almost like the little boy she remembered from years before. Ethan? Her voice softened, concern instantly rising in her chest. "What's wrong, sweetheart?" He hesitated. His eyes lowered, his weight shifted. When he spoke, his voice trembled. I had a nightmare. I didn't know who else to go to." The tension in Emily's chest melted into something tender. She nodded, wordlessly stepping aside and gesturing him in. Ethan walked in quietly, as if afraid to disturb the air around them. He sat at the edge of her bed, his shoulders slightly hunched, his hands twisting together nervously. Emily sat beside him, her movements calm and deliberate. "Do you want to tell me about it?" she asked gently. For a long moment he said nothing. Then in halting pieces he began. He told her about wandering alone in the house, calling for his dad, calling for her, but no one answered. He described the flickering lights, the stretching shadows, the heavy silence pressing down until he woke up gasping for air. As he spoke, Emily felt a deep ache stir within her. It had been 2 years since her husband, Ethan's father, had passed away after a sudden illness. The grief had come like a storm that tore through their lives, leaving behind a silence too thick to breathe through. Since then, Emily had done everything she could to keep things steady, to keep the lights on, the meals cooked, the schedules met. But she knew grief didn't follow rules. It ebbed and returned like the tide, often when least expected. She reached out and placed her hand gently over his. "Ethan," she whispered, "I know how real it feels, but nightmares can't hurt you. You're safe now, and you're not alone. Not ever." He met her eyes then, and she saw something raw inside them. Fear, yes, but also a yearning. A quiet plea for reassurance that went deeper than words. They sat there together for a while in silence. Slowly, his breathing steadied, the tension in his shoulders easing. When he finally rose to go back to his room, she watched him walk down the hallway, until his figure disappeared into the dark. But sleep didn't come easily for Emily after that. That whisper of her name, his voice fragile in the night, lingered in her mind long after she lay back down. She knew it wasn't just about a bad dream. It was something deeper. A call for connection, for safety, for the kind of comfort only trust could bring. Over the next few weeks, the midnight visits continued. Sometimes he came after nightmares. Other times it was just a quiet knock at her door. They didn't always talk much. Sometimes they just sat together. Ethan staring at the floor, Emily offering silent company. She learned quickly that he didn't need answers. He needed presence, someone to listen, someone who wouldn't rush to fix things, but would simply stay. Then one night, Ethan came to her door holding something. A small spiral notebook. He looked nervous. "I've been writing," he mumbled, almost embarrassed. "Poems, I don't show them to anyone, but I thought maybe you'd understand." Emily took the notebook carefully, flipping through the pages. The handwriting was uneven, hurried, but the words struck her like a soft wind against an open wound. They were about loss and loneliness, about searching for something unseen, about shadows and echoes and the quiet weight of missing someone. But threaded through all of it was something fragile but bright: hope. When she looked up, her throat was tight. "Ethan," she said softly, "these are beautiful. They sound like your heart laid open on paper." He gave a small shrug, eyes flicking down, though a tiny smile touched his lips. "It's the only way I can talk to Dad sometimes. Like, if I write it, he'll hear me." Emily blinked back tears. She squeezed his hand. "I think he'd be proud." "I know I am." That night marked a quiet turning point. Ethan still came to her room sometimes, but not always for comfort. Sometimes for questions. About life, about choices, about growing up. She told him about her awkward teenage years, the fear of not fitting in, the uncertainty of finding your own place. One night, he asked softly, "Do you ever stop being scared?" Emily smiled faintly. "No," she said, "but you learn to walk with fear until it stops leading you." Months passed, and with her gentle encouragement, Ethan began to find his own rhythm again. When she suggested he join the school's creative writing club, he resisted at first. The thought of sharing his private words with others felt too exposed. But eventually curiosity won out. By spring, something remarkable happened. Ethan signed up to read one of his poems at the school's literary night. Emily remembered that moment vividly. The way he tried to sound casual but couldn't hide the nervous flicker in his eyes. "I'm going to read just one," he told her. "Don't make a big deal out of it, okay?" Emily smiled, making no promises. That evening, she sat in the front row of the auditorium, her heart pounding as if she were the one about to step on stage. When Ethan approached the microphone, the room fell silent. His hands trembled slightly as he unfolded his paper. But once he began, his voice grew steady. His words painted pictures of memory and resilience, of holding on and letting go. By the time he finished, the audience erupted into warm applause. Emily clapped until her hands ached, her eyes shimmering with pride. When Ethan caught her gaze, he smiled, not the shy, uncertain one she'd grown used to, but something freer, lighter. On the drive home, he said quietly, "I don't think I could have done that without you." Emily looked at him, her heart full. "You did it because it was already inside you," she said. "I just reminded you." The midnight whispers eventually stopped. They were replaced by laughter at dinner, by quiet talks during evening walks, by a bond formed not through obligation, but through love, patient, gentle, and real. And sometimes, when Emily sat alone late at night and heard the crickets outside her window again, she smiled. Because in the stillness, she could almost hear that whisper again, not of fear but of healing,